Okay. Well, hello, everybody, whoever is watching. Thank you for joining us today. I am David, and I'm being joined by the wonderful Liv Wheeler today. And we're going to be talking about, I guess, the different work we're doing and how it relates to this campaign that Liv is doing. I Talk to Spirit too, and diving into how that connects into community and the spiritual path everybody is walking and all that good stuff. So, without further ado, Liv, hello.
Hi, David. Good to be with you.
Yes, it's so good to be with you today. We had some technical issues getting here along the way, but hey, we made it nonetheless. We're here, we're recording, and it's happening. I think Spirit will be happy about that because I've been wanting to do this for a while now. We've been talking for several months just about the different things we're doing and how it's been kind of tying into each other and finally lined up. And so, yeah, we're just going to take it off right from there. Is that I've noticed the last year, really in particular, there's been this, I don't know, this energy of kind of breaking through and breaking out and coming from behind the scenes of what you're doing in your life spiritually and the different work we're all doing and kind of coming in community and speaking out about it, being open and honest and bold in your truth. So when I heard your campaign you were doing, I Talk to Spirit too, I was like, whoa, that pulls on my heartstrings. That's like exactly what I've been feeling inwardly here too. So just to kind of inform everybody, tell us a little bit about what is I Talk to Spirit too.
I Talk to Spirit too is, basically the reason why I started this campaign or this project is because when I travel around and when I do rituals and events in different cities or towns or basically in my travels and through the different people that I've met and connected with, a particular sentiment was showing up again and again and again, like a same sentiment, which is basically what I was hearing people say over and over and over again is that they were having these spiritual experiences, and they were afraid to talk about it even to their closest friends, some of them for fear of being labeled crazy. And really, really, like, for fear of being labeled crazy. And a lot of them that, like, so-called came out to me about their connection with Spirit was also really surprising to me. I didn't know that they were connected in those ways. Some of them that I'd known for a while, or I wouldn't have necessarily guessed that about the people that I was meeting. And but because I'm seen as being like out there, or more just, I might be out there and out there.
Out of the spiritual closet.
I'm out
You're just,
there.
Yeah, bam.
I'm out there in all sorts of ways. Then that was what enabled them to feel comfortable, like, coming out to me personally or privately. And it struck me like a revelation or something like that how is it possible that all these different places these people are having such similar experiences and are so like petrified to even talk about it to even their closest friend. And I realized that what I'll say is that I feel like all of it has led me to believe that we're actually in a different paradigm or a different time than we even think that we are. All of it is just kind of right beneath the surface, needing some of us to kind of like take each other by the hand and, help each other out of the spiritual closet. So like that's kind of like a long-winded way of saying like that was the inspiration for the project or the campaign, is because what I was seeing was that we all can like help to encourage each other in feeling safe in coming out of the spiritual closet. And I feel like the more of us that do that, I feel like it's going to bring about really radical change.
Yes. Absolutely, absolutely. Because, I love that you speak so much on, and this is what I've always valued in working with you so much, is, our lives are not in this vacuum cleaner. We're not going through this process alone. And it's when you come together in community space, ritual space, even you're just at the grocery store, anywhere in your community, you can be opening these conversations with anybody by living as truthful and authentic as you can. It's just been interesting to me because, like you, the more I am talking to others and the more open I am, I notice they start talking too, and they start going like, "Oh yeah, I'm into this," or "Oh, I'm into that," or "This is what I'm doing in my practice away from everyone else in my life." But yeah, that's totally in here, and it's like, whoa. So okay, just by being like, okay, here's my truth, I'm doing this, and if it invites you to do it, and we all do that, there's going to be like this ripple effect, and it's going to happen to everybody. Because, like you said, we are very much so in a new paradigm, and kind of have crossed over that line, I feel, but we are still in those beginning days of this paradigm, and so we're kind of back and forth between like, still dealing with a lot of old, outdated ways from the past, but while still simultaneously in this new energy that's so rapid and fierce, and just has this super fast effect that really is just encapsulating everyone, I feel like. And so kind of to ease over from into that, it'd be interesting to talk about, I guess, the kind of work we're both individually doing, and how that ties into I Talk to Spirit too, quite literally for you. I mean, your whole basis of your work is talking to Spirit, and which I feel so blessed to be on the other side of and get to witness and working with you. So yeah, talk a little bit about that with being a ritual facilitator and a Candomblé voice diviner, and for anyone who might be curious out there.
Talk a little bit about my work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I'm a ritual facilitator, Candomblé voice diviner, and so I've been walking this so-called shamanic path for about, I guess it's about 12 years now, and doing private sessions with people, and also like working in groups in various cities, and now sometimes countries too, and it's just basically, I guess in some ways I see myself as a bridge helping people to connect with the other worlds or the other realms, and a lot of times I'm showing up as a person who's kind of bringing information from the other world or the other realms into this one for that person or for that group. And a lot of the work that I'm doing is with beings known as Candomblé, which are basically the little people from Burkina Faso, West Africa, and how I got connected to that in the first place was because I was studying or working with studying with Malado Musome, a person named Malado Musome, who's from Burkina Faso, from the Darra people of West Africa, and studying and apprenticing with him for about 8 years, and through that, this kind of like process of remembering or uncovering more of who I am truly, not who I am superficially, but who I am truly, is looking very connected to the Candomblé. And so through initiations and processes that were activated, I guess I went through a process of remembering how to communicate in their tongue. So I speak in the Candomblé tongue, and I speak in the tongue of the little people. So that's a lot of what's happening, and a lot of the work, it seems like increasingly so, is uniting or connecting with sometimes the little people in the different like countries or places. It's like, for example, in March, I'll be doing some work in Hawaii, and so naturally I'll be connecting with the Menehune. Or in Iceland. Do you know about Iceland, by the way? You should come to Iceland.
Please bring me with you. I will go anywhere you go.
Yeah, come to Iceland. Do you know about this? I don't even know if you know.
Do I know much about Iceland?
No, do you know that there's like a ritual retreat planned in Iceland?
Yeah, the one you're doing. I remember, I think you told me about it, our last divination we did.
Oh, okay.
What you were going to be going over there and doing.
So then in Iceland in June, there'll be a whole like ritual retreat happening where it's like the elves and the Candomblé coming together. And then I'll be in New Zealand in the end of March, beginning of April for a global gathering, and then I'll be connecting with the little people there in New Zealand. And
man, you're such a nomad, Liv. You're all over the place. Can't keep up with this girl.
I know, Spirit has me traveling.
And I think that's gives you even more experience to be so well versed with this, because you are going to so many different places, connecting with so many different people from all walks of life and cultures, and you're getting to hear their stories and their experiences with their spirituality and their practices, and you know who these people really are, and facilitating these rituals, getting to hold that space for others. And that kind of leads me into a question I've been curious about, is when you're holding these, rituals and gatherings in community space, and being the one that, is kind of at the helm for Spirit to bring, that wisdom and that knowledge through, do you find that there's a lot of people that come to you and your gatherings kind of in a state of fear ever? And like what that does, what that brings into the space when people are kind of trying to figure out how to word this properly. But yeah, just kind of in a state of fear, simply as that, I guess. And they're kind of unsure about it all, and they're like interested in what you're doing, but they're like, I don't know, I'm not sure. They're like apprehensive from that conditioning that we have in our culture, specifically here in North America. But what's that like on your end, counteracting that fear from people, or any kind of resistance? Do you ever have to deal with that?
Yeah, I feel like that comes up probably every single time that there's fear in the space. And and I think that probably is largely because of where we are at, or how we've been conditioned, and how we've been conditioned as modern people, to think that this is not real, or to fear it, or whatever. And so what ends up showing up in the space is a lot of fear a lot of the time. And I guess in different ways that I'll communicate to the group, I just basically I'm kind of encouraging people to kind of just breathe through it. And it's just it definitely seems to surface around this work. And it's interesting that you're talking about fear too, because this morning when I was talking to the Candomblé before getting on the line with you, I was asking them if there's anything that they thought would be important to say, or if there was like a particular message that they wanted to bring in. And they were talking a lot about fear, about people being in fear these days, I think especially with what's going on maybe politically, or there's maybe more fear even than normal, fear of people who are different than ourselves, or we have different colored skin, or we have all the different reasons why people fear each other. And I guess ultimately, we can also choose love. It sounds
Yes.
It sounds like a simple thing to say in a way, but it may be that simple. Actually, it may actually be that simple, where we can choose love and trust and compassion and kindness and care and gratitude and all those like qualities that just pour out from our heart, that I believe actually it is. And so like the quality of love, like if people are showing up in fear in a ritual or in a community space, it's like we choose to trust, and we choose to trust and feel, does it actually feel that scary? Or is that just my conditioning? Like, does this actually feel that scary? Or is that just my conditioning? Like, is it really that scary? Or maybe it's actually beautiful. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, maybe it's actually beautiful, and I want to make sure that I really, really like express clearly enough that space, or that space that I feel like, or I sense that we're in culturally, is that when I say I feel like it's all just beneath the surface, that's another way of saying that we are all so powerful. We are all so powerfully connected, and we have so many guides and guardians and ancestors and really like luminous beings that are with all of us. And if we choose, even like a handful of us choose to just be brave, and just come out with it. Because, like I said, when I hear about these stories, there are so many stories of people who are in communication with these different beings who have really great wisdom, and who could really be helpful to us as humans. And so, if I could even just, say one message clearly, it's just, like, please, whoever's listening, like, please be brave and coming out with what you know already. And because I really do feel like we can seriously turn the tide. But we just have to come with a bit of courage,
Yes, absolutely. Wow, that was beautiful, Liv. Thank you for sharing so authentically from your heart there, because I think that's what's been lacking, honestly, is what you just did right there. Just being in the moment, sharing from this space, which so many are afraid to do from fear of rejection, fear of not being heard, fear of seeming crazy. Some people think they are going to be seen as crazy for coming across as emotional, coming across as sensitive, coming across as just even the basic human, our innate human things that are just in here already. And so when I am in the presence of people such as yourself who are willing to do that, I know it makes me feel 10 times more, like on cloud nine. And it's like, it reminds us, whoa, this is natural. This is organic here. This is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just kind of going off of what you were saying about choosing love and the fear, being someone who's been in ritual with you before, that was something that definitely I took away from. I know the ancestralization specifically. I'll never forget our first night, and we're all sitting around the fire, and silence just kind of came over everybody. And it was like, okay, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do. And you're just like, can we just spit it out? Let's just spit it out, get it out there. This ritual is not going to flow if we stay hardened in our hearts. We've got to, you were talking on the importance of water and emotion and just letting it flow. And then from there, people just started coughing their stuff up. And it was just beautiful to watch everyone just release themselves and open up and just get into that groove and that flow with each other. And I can't imagine it, the ritual of going any other way. If it had stayed in that state, oh my God, 4 days, we would have just been a thing of ah. And I'm just like, man, this girl is good. She knows how to just bring out that authenticity in people. And it's not that you were forcing that out of anybody. You were just doing it yourself. And it was like an invitation for everyone else to do the same. And by the end, everyone's like, Man, that's we leave that place feeling alive and refreshed and cleansed and real and just really the truest self you can possibly be. And so I just think more and more that's the importance of where we should be moving forward is just that 100% authenticity and being bold. Like, what was it? Someone told me the other day, a friend of mine was like, the bolder the move, the less anybody questions it. And they just kind of flow with you from there. And I was like, oh, that's good stuff. Okay. I'm just going to be bold every day now. Just every move, just fuck it, just do it, whatever. Because, you know, there's just no reason to hold back anymore. Because, you know, I was just talking to someone the other day, and this is a friend of mine who's rather pretty open and in tune and spiritually aware, I guess you could say. And but even with that, I was telling her, you know what, I am starting this year, I'm going to be focusing more on, you know, my astrological work that I'm doing right now and trying to switch more to that being my primary source of income. And she's like, no, you can't do that. You can't leave your job. You can't go move across the country. You can't do this. You can't do that. Like, you gotta be smart. You gotta be practical. And I was like, but that doesn't resonate with me anymore. That doesn't feel good. Like, when I feel into that in my heart, I'm just like, ick, just no. Totally. And I know that by trusting what is, what essentially spirit is guiding me to, and I follow those breadcrumbs, and I believe we all get them. Sometimes we just ignore them and, you know, go the practical way instead of what everyone else is telling you to do. And so that's why I say I urge everyone to think for yourself and to question everything and to really, we all have an intuition. I think you can probably attest this. Intuition is heightened more than ever these last several years. Like, it's just, I feel like there's no denying that we have an inner knowing that's always been there. But at this point, to deny it, I feel like would be a conscious decision. It's just so heightened, and that seems to be everyone I talk to. It's just like, yeah, I feel things I wasn't feeling before. My third eye is fully open. You know, I don't know, just like totally into their feeling nature, and I think that's pretty important to know what's best for us and not have anyone else telling us how to live our lives anymore. And that's really one of the biggest shifts in this paradigm, I believe, right now.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like, you know, a lot of it is going back to being brave and, you know, kind of like bravely embracing who you are, bravely embracing your path. And like you were speaking too about the authenticity, it's just, it's interesting that we've gotten so far away from it as a culture, and yet we crave it so much. You know, like in some ways it's just like, you know, even when you're like so-called putting yourself out there, it's supposed to be in this really like, really contrived or really like inauthentic way, you know, very manipulated, you know, very manipulated. You got to do this, and then you do this, and you do this. Well, what about just being real? And what about just being authentic? And what about that? And what if we can just actually be authentic and that's enough? And that you don't actually have to be trying to do anything. You just get to be yourself. And how relieving is that? You know, like what a relief. How much energy it takes to be so like manipulated or calculated in our, you know, in our actions, or like how much artificial energy or something like that is taking. And so yeah, and I feel like, you know, what you were mentioning too about the ancestralization, and just, I feel like sometimes just people need to be given permission to go there, that there's, but once they do, it feels like it's so healing. And interestingly enough, the more I've been tracking emotions and, you know, so-called vulnerability in those kind of like precious or tender spaces, is it feels to me like that's actually what makes way or strengthens our connection with spirit.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
In those kind of like watery spaces, is spirit comes through water, and um, and so for those who are actually actively trying to get more in touch or strengthen their connection with spirit, be in your emotional body, be in your emotional body, and just like that feels like that's a lot of the flow. But I feel like I also want to say too, like I feel proud of you too when I hear you talk about having this conversation with your friends, and and just knowing what your truth is, and being brave and acting from that place. Because if I had listened to people what they were telling me years ago, I would be probably like a sick court reporter right now, because that's what I was doing in my early 20s. It's like, and I'd probably be sick too, because I could see that coming. I would be like, what am I doing? I'm a little bit
Like, what's going on?
this is a crazy world, and it does. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to act from our truth, but it's all inside of us. That's the beauty, is that it sounds so cliche, but it really actually is true, that it's inside of us, and we feel it, and we feel it when we're doing something that's not what we're supposed to be doing. It's not, it's hard. It's hard. You try to go in, and it's like, this is hard. Everything in your system is shutting down. Whereas in the contrary, like, to do what I do, it's my greatest joy. I am absolutely in love with what I do, and that only grows. I become more in love with it all the time. I am absolutely in love with it, and but it's taken all these. I guess coming to all these choices in the path, and choosing to trust, and choosing to love, and choosing to be brave, and choosing that over and over and over again, to the point that you see it like, whoa, wow, it really works to do that. And
yes, exactly. And I think that's important to note, because I think a lot of people, they have so much, and it kind of comes back to fear again. They want to step into that truth. They see, kind of the whole grass is greener on the other side effect, and they're like, man, yeah, that's the life I want to be in. This is what I want to be doing. But then, along with all the conditioning and everyone around them, family, friends telling them to do something different, you have these rationalizations in your mind that always wants to be like, okay, no, that's not safe. You can't give up your 9 to 5 because you're going to run out of money. Mm-hmm. You can't trust and have faith and go out on a limb because, if you move to this place that even though you don't know anyone there, what am I going to do? But yet you feel this calling that says you have to, like there's something there for you and you just know it, but you stay where you are because it's safe, it's known, it's familiar. And all the while, like you were saying, everything inside of you starts shutting down, quite literally. And I can attest to that. I've definitely experienced that in the past. And I started realizing that, you know what? I have a choice. I have a choice to continue to do what I'm doing and probably go insane because of it. Or I can, trust, have some faith here. That's where spirit comes into play. Yes, we can't see spirit necessarily. No, but we feel it. We feel spirit. We feel the hunches. We see the signs and signals and breadcrumbs all around us, and these synchronicities and these simultaneous events all happening for us that are clicking into place. And you're like, whoa, there's something at play here. There's something beyond myself, beyond this human body I'm in, that is orchestrating something far greater than I can possibly ever comprehend with this little mind in here. Mm-hmm. And I'm just mind blown again and again at how that happens in those experiences, because I will say it is scary at first. The last several years, I've had so much resistance from family, from even close friends of mine, that I've lost number by number, because little by little I kept going more and more into my truth. And some people actually seemed threatened by that. I think because on some level they actually knew it was real. They just didn't want to risk the current reality they were living and seem I guess be put on the spot and seem too out there, too crazy or something. Like I was at I think Christmas recently, and I was just a simple conversation. I think I was just talking about general energy and feeling energy and chakras and things like that. And my cousin is like, that is just such bullshit. That is crazy. How do you go around talking about this stuff, especially on Christmas Day when it's about Jesus? And I'm like, well, I think Jesus was just another ascended master, right? Or something like that. And it seemed to offend everybody at the table. And I've just gotten used to that because that's just who I am. And I kind of like getting a laugh out of people, to be honest, and stuff like that anymore. It kind of gives me a little bit of a high, if I'm honest. I like rocking the boat, but I kind of get seen as the enemy, but whatever.
Yeah, it starts to become
but yeah, it is what it is. So
yeah,
you just there's really, I think, no manual to this life. Totally. I think you can probably attest to that here.
Yeah.
You just do it. You just kind of, it's like jumping off a cliff. You can sit there and stare at the water all day in front of you, but eventually you just got to take the plunge and go for it. And then it's kind of, some people might want to take baby steps for sure, which I can understand. I've kind of done that in some ways, but there's really there's no guidebook to being yourself. It's just something you do.
Yeah.
It's what's already in you innately, and you just peel back more and more layers like an onion or something, and yourself exposes. And from there, I think you're going to be a happier person. But something I was curious to ask you if you would be open to sharing is, as you started, coming more and more into your own self and shedding those layers, I guess, which would have been, I don't know if that was still when you were living in Florida with your family. What was your family's reaction to that? What were your friends' reactions? What kind of responses did you get from people?
Yeah, my mom probably wouldn't like me saying this, but it was true. I mean, she basically thought I was going to hell.
You're going to hell, Liv. You're going to burn in the flames. I'll see you there, sister.
She totally thought I was going to hell, and she would tell me that. I lost a lot of friends because of it. It was like, it was so clear that when I was following spirit, following my intuition, it was so clear that it was a shamanic path, and I was clearly getting the messages and the guidance. And then when I was responding to it without even fully understanding, like, what is even a shamanic path or what is shamanism or whatever. I mean, it's, anyway. And so, I lost friends because of it. And people seemed really threatened by it, People seemed really threatened by it and scared of it. And I had a kind of like an innocence about it. In the beginning, I was like, I don't understand, like, what's so bad about this? It's like, there was all this fear, like, people who go into this path are about power, or people are going to go to hell, or, whatever. I was like, whoa, what's going on?
It's like, just, sorry, love and light, people, love and light. I'm just trying to fill the space with some positivity here.
I know, I was like, I don't understand what's so bad about this, and those are, I guess, all the layers of conditioning and everything else that we have to work through. But yeah, I know for sure my mom thought I was going to hell, and she was, thought for sure I should go back to court reporting. And, I was like, you quit court reporting, anyway, so for sure. No, it was intense. It was really intense. I had a lot of opposition around me, and a lot of doubt, and a lot of opposition, and I just had to, like, hold tight to that light inside of myself. I had to really hold tight to it when everybody else around me was saying, no, this isn't real, no, this is wrong, no, you shouldn't be doing this. I couldn't understand, why is it so threatening? What is so threatening about this? Why are you so threatened by it? You know? And I think that's a good question to investigate. But anyway, and so I just had to really hold tight to this little light inside of myself and my little inner knowing, and just trust that and trust that and trust that. And every continuous step that I took, I realized, oh yeah, I definitely made the right choice, because these steps that I'm taking, or these shoes that I'm walking in, these are my shoes. I recognize these. I know these for sure. So that's that kind of like inner knowing that we can rely on. And you know, the thing that you were speaking to about your experience with family over the holidays is, I mean, in some ways, I feel like a lot of this, in some ways, boils down to openness too, because like the ability to sense chakras or sense energy, sometimes that just has to do with having an open body or an open energetic system. And like a lot of yoga practitioners will find, you know, the more they're practicing the yoga asana, all of a sudden they become more interested in spirit or energy, or I feel like it actually naturally goes towards spirit in a way. I've heard that with a lot of like long time yoga practitioners that are practicing yoga asana. Well, what's happening? Like all this time you've been opening up your body and opening up your body and opening up your body. Opening up your body is opening up your mind, for one. Not the opposite, being closed-minded, it's being open-minded, you know, like closed mind is
well, that's wide open.
Shut you down for, how dare you talk about chakras? Like,
yeah.
Go to jail.
Oh God, I know. Like, ouch, because it's so funny. What started the conversation is, I don't even know what started it, but I was just sitting there. I was speaking with another cousin of mine who was relatively open about that stuff, and the night before Christmas, I don't know what the hell was going on, but I woke up at like 4 a.m, and my third eye just felt like it was blasting open, like by some space beam or something. And yeah, this is just usual stuff in my life. And I'm just going on about it. I'm like, yeah, last night I woke up and I my third eye was like exploding or something. I don't know what's happening. And then everyone's just like, what? What? Oh my God, the devil, it's evil, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, whoa. Listen here, people.
Yeah.
It's just a third eye. That's it.
Yeah.
It's just your spiritual energy center or something opening up. But I love what you said earlier. I even wrote that down a minute ago. And I'm going to start asking people this quite genuinely when I encounter that opposition. Why are you so threatened by this? Why are you so threatened by this? Like, it's such a simple question, but yet it's so loaded, because it's like there is a fear there. Because usually there's a very defensive energy that comes up with people when they're faced with something they don't know or don't understand, that kind of, goes against their belief system, and it can get kind of volatile, and you face a lot of anger with people, especially when they are, subscribed to a certain religion, maybe, not to down any specific religions, but I do find specifically Catholicism and Christianity, more times than not, I find the most opposition from, especially from elders, like grandparents and parents and things like that. And I do want to speak on that part just for a minute, on how it's difficult to face opposition from friends and certain social groups and communities, but when it's your parents, the people that birthed you and brought you into this world, that we're so programmed to want approval from, can be really hard to swallow for some people. Like, I have a good friend of mine the other day who was like, I'm not going to do this because my mom is going to hate me. She's going to disown me. I get that all the time. And I'm like, gosh, man, that's like dart to the heart right there. It doesn't feel good. And I already asked you a minute ago kind of what your mom's reaction was. And I guess it was straight to hell, apparently.
Yeah.
There for a little bit. How has that evolved, though? Now that you've been on your path for quite a while here, and she's probably been able to witness your evolution. And I do want to throw this in real quick. I hope you don't mind me adding in that I know you went back to Florida, your hometown, to be with your mom last year for a little while after being away for quite some time. What was it like coming back to your mother and your family? And after you've integrated so much in yourself and come so far, like, what was that whole experience like?
Yeah, so I feel called to share the kind of like breakthrough story with my mom and I that happened some years ago because um, it was like a major transformation for us because basically what happened was and that did happen over a period of time where she did basically think I was going to hell. Like that was definitely happening. It didn't stop me from sharing with her. I continued to share with her and I just would basically hear her on the other line, like not breathing. And I was like, Mom. Mom.
It's like, Mom,
Breathe.
are you alive? Do I need to call the
You can
ambulance?
just hear it, when somebody's holding their breath, it's like, Mom, breathe. It's gonna be okay.
Oh
But
my.
basically, the transformation point with her was that my brother got in trouble at one point in time. This is years ago, and my mom was so scared about what was going to happen to him. Like he just got in trouble, and it wasn't really his fault. But anyway, without going into the details of that, um, she was really scared. She was super scared. She was really scared, and she was really worried. And she would. Yeah, she would talk to me about it on the phone and she didn't know what to do. And so at one point I suggested, like, well, you could talk to the ancestors. And she was like, well, how would I do that? And I was like, well, because I was channeling it through. So they said, you just talk to me on the phone and I'll just connect with them and you'll be talking to them. And it was really only because she was basically desperate. That was the only reason that she even considered it. But but we connected with the ancestors, and I only met my grandma. I never met any of my other grandparents. That's her mom. And so when the ancestors were speaking through, it was especially her mom and her dad that were talking. I never met her dad, and so I have no idea what he sounds like. Um, but anyway, they came through and they were talking to my mom, and she knew she was talking to her dad. And he was, he called her the nickname that he called her, and she just knew she was talking to her parents. And they told her things. They told her what was going to happen. They told her to stay calm. They laid out what was going to come, and it was really, really, really emotional for her. And that was the transformation point because after that, she was saying, basically, how can that be wrong? How can that be wrong? And so, and not only that, but the things that they had told her all came to pass with, the guidance that they had given her. So, in a way, it kind of created a monster with my mom because after that, she would call me up and then I'd say, hey mom, can I talk to mom and dad?
Oh God.
I told
That's
her,
like a 180. All of a sudden, she totally jumped into the world after wanting nothing to do with it.
yeah, but she was like doing it all the time, and I was like, Mom, this is my profession. Like, you're gonna need to start paying. And
Yeah, I have to charge you by the hour,
yeah,
Mama.
exactly. So that was like
It's
a
hilarious.
huge transformation, and at this point, she actually like has an ancestor altar that she makes offerings to, and
Wow.
she'll like talk to the contemple through me and stuff like that. And now, she'll contact me and she's like, basically what she's saying to me is like the spirits are really trying to get my attention. I don't know what they're saying. And so she fully makes offerings, and she fully like she's just in it, and that is a major transformation. And I think also too that she's she sees that it's been really a beautiful thing for me too, and she'll hear stories from people that I sometimes she'll hear stories from people that I work with, or um, so I think now I could say, actually, I think it would be safe to say that she feels proud of me, um,
Wow.
which is really, really like a beautiful transformation. But that really definitely took me really like holding to my truth, um, and I would have never imagined that day would have come, where she's actually making offerings and wanting to talk to the Cantonle, and she's making offerings to the Cantonle, and this is like...
Who knows? Maybe the next ritual I'm at with you, your mom's gonna like make a guest appearance or something.
I know. She might be there. I know.
Oh God, that would be so awesome! Wow,
maybe,
I think that's so important. You shared that, Liv, because it can show other people out there who are maybe in the current struggle of not being accepted by a parent and facing a lot of resistance from them, and just feeling really down about that, and to look at your situation, how it starts you going to hell, Liv, and now your mother she's fully ingrained in it. She's making her own offerings to the ancestors and is basically right there with you. And because you were steadfast, you just held that space, were in your truth boldly, firmly, and didn't really have to do anything. And she came to you and is now on the other side of that. And it goes to show, like, hey, whoa, this is possible. And just another example of, how you just being that example, being who you are, not forcing her to be any different way, and just staying true to you 100%, invited someone who completely opposed it to actually be in their truth as well. And that is really the whole point of this, I think, is, holding that space, inviting everyone around you to come into it, and to, just be their most authentic self. And with that, I just kind of want to go into, I guess, 2017. We are in the new year. Happy New Year to you and to everybody. I'm so excited. Last year was... it was good, had a lot of challenges for sure, but I'm feeling, just talking to everybody, a big thing that's coming through this year that I'm feeling from the spirits and the ancestors are, being bold and being connected to your purpose and your truth, and having faith in yourself and your destiny to be who you are. And I know I'm wanting to apply more of this to the year ahead. That's why I really wanted to connect with you and do this video and start the year in a way like this. And so I would say, what would you offer advice-wise to everybody watching, what they can do in this next year, how to enter the year in the best way to boldly be who they are?
Well, I guess it's just, it's kind of like, it's not always needing to make those like big bold moves, but sometimes it starts out in like little ways of, you're in a situation and it kind of scares you to speak your truth or to put yourself out there, but you just like, you practice in those little ways that happens in, the one-on-one conversations that you have, that it kind of just gets you more in the practice of, just basically speaking your truth, and it feels like it just kind of creates a new pattern or a new way, and next thing you know, that just grows and grows and grows. So I feel like in some ways it's just, taking those small baby steps, or just, and it does make our heart beat fast, and our heart will likely beat fast, it's like, that's being scared. And also I feel like it's important too to not be attached to the outcome. It's like I could tell you something that scares me, But if I'm having an expectation of what your response is going to be, then that in some ways like inhibits the medicine.
Yes.
Whereas I try to make it a practice where I'm constantly, if I feel called to say something or if I feel called to do it, to do it and to just do it. And who knows what's going to happen, and a lot of times it may be different than what I would maybe hope would happen, but I just let go of it. And it's like, I know for me that's just keeping that kind of muscle toned, so to speak, of, and it doesn't matter, like it doesn't actually really matter, in a way, it doesn't really matter what the response is. When I was telling my mom the stories about when I was starting out in the kind of like shamanic training, um, I was having all sorts of reaction from her, but it didn't stop me from continuing to speak my truth. And in a way, it all does feel like it kind of gets distilled down to the speaking of the truth and being in authenticity, which Spirit has been telling me lately is more important than ever. And it's more important than ever, and it also is connected to our vitality, our life force. How brave we're being is how alive we're being. And so if we're kind of just in a conversation where it kind of scares me, and maybe it even has to do with somebody you like or something that you want to be with or whatever, and you're just like having courage and communicating that and just like practicing being brave, and who cares what happens on the other side, But these are all little acts of bravery that continue to grow our bravery and continue to grow our vitality and our like how alive we are, how alive do we want to be. And we are living in a time, I feel like, where the systems and the powers that be, so to speak, are really, really like trying to like clamp down on us and trying to bear in on us of, where you imagine that all your emails are being read or you're constantly being watched or listened to, like, and let's be crazy anyway.
Yeah.
Let's be crazy anyway. Like, who cares? I'll talking about little people. And like, if it's a fear of being crazy, let's be crazy. Let's be crazy together. And actually, what I feel like starts to happen is it becomes wildly liberating. To actually just embrace. If our biggest fear is being labeled crazy, what if we actually just enjoy being crazy? I'm crazy,
Yeah.
and I love it.
I'm crazy as fuck, and I know it. And to just share that, because when you are just like, you just say that out loud, and if someone says it back to you, it's really not going to hurt. It's not going to matter, because it's like, yes, this is what I am. Who cares? I embrace it and I love it.
I'm crazy. I'm weird. I'm all these awkward energies. I'm awkward. I'm imperfect. I'm imbalanced. I'm all these things, like, and it's all good. You know what I mean? Like, who says that we got to be these perfect little robots that are just able to fit in this little teeny tiny little narrow confine where we're all just being policed? Anyway, we're so conditioned that your friend is policing you. Well, you should go back to college and you should get your da 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 da. What is certain about the future? I mean,
nothing.
There's a lot going on right now. Like Standing Rock is kind of blown up. Like all this stuff is like, what is even certain about the future? These like so-called like robots is like, go get in your place, go get in your cubicle, and you'll be happy just like all the other, And I'm not trying to, make fun of people who work in offices or anything like that, but I am trying to shed light on a mentality where people end up becoming police. They police each other. And,
yes.
How dare you talk about chakras? Go to jail. You should be behind bars for that.
Go sit in the corner. Go get away from here. Like, you've been punished. Like, slapping on the wrist here, It's like, yes, I'm so glad you talk about that, because oh my God, it's like you are being policed with these authority figures who are just the same civilians as you
That's
know, and you're
right.
like,
And it's,
what?
I mean, let's be honest, it's more than a slap on the wrist. They would like you to be in some handcuffs, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real,
Right.
because they're handcuffed, and they're like, if I'm gonna suffer, you should be suffering with me too, because my soul actually wants to be free like you. And so
Yes.
what I actually feel like I witness, and it's a part of, it's like it kind of plays out in the whole like celebrity culture too. It's just like this way where people simultaneously, they want to be them on one hand, and on the other hand they're just throwing mud at them. I want to be you, and I'm going to throw mud at you, you know, both simultaneously. And I feel like what I end up seeing happening is it's a process that happens with humans that I notice. I'm like, what is that thing that people do? They want to be you, they want to be free like you, and then simultaneously they want to throw mud at you when they see that you're actually kind of like stepping out there and doing something. You know, I'm going to tear you down too. So this is something that happens that I notice. It's just like, whoa, what's that thing that people do? I notice it, right? And then I'm going to try to, you know, take you down. And then, but what, you know, it's like, it's actually, if you kind of like look at it, it's kind of true, right? I'm going to tear you down. You can see it in these sense. It's just like, you know, when people see you as so-called like succeeding or rising in different ways in their perception, I'll notice it. They'll come out, you know, I'm like, whoa, what's on my ankle right now? Get off.
Yes.
You want to just
Yes.
like pull me down?
Oh
So I'm like suffering, like the way you feel like you're suffering, but I feel like you just like, and then you hang in there a little bit longer, and ultimately they crack, and they're just like, tell me your secrets. You know, then they want to know your secret. Tell me your secret.
Yes.
How did you get free? Because really, actually, what I want is to be free. I mean, don't we want to be free?
Yeah. That's the ultimate thing I think we're all looking for here. Like, that's what it comes down to. And, you know, oh man, you really hit the nail on the head with that one. Because you just got so raw there. Like, you know, people really want to bring you down. And
just
on one level, I mean, or they want to be like you, and it comes across in this way where it's like throwing darts at you and putting the handcuffs on you from behind. And I try to remember, I'm like, these people are a prisoner to their own ignorance. Exactly. You know, it just like simply ignoring the truth that I can do this too. I don't need to be like anybody. I don't need to be jealous of you for being free. I can just free myself. Mm-hmm. Like, come on. Like, it's we all have it there. And holy moly, that energy has been running pretty rampant lately, I will say. You know, you start to undo so many layers of yourself, and you just start getting this opposition everywhere. Like, in some ways you get really good reactions from people, but then you get some not so good reactions, like you just demonstrated so well for us there. And it's, oh gosh, it can be scary, but I think, like we've talked here so much about, is just continuing to be brave, continuing to have courage, continuing to take those small steps that then lead to bolder steps, and just empowering yourself, being so empowered and in your truth, and just expressing that every day in whatever way that you do, in your communication, and your writing, at work, with your friends, at the grocery store, everywhere you go. Just spread that. Just be you. It's like, it's so easy, but we think it's not. It's kind of a dichotomy there, you know? And I think the more we do that, the greater world we are creating. Because as we see, like you said, with Standing Rock right now, and what's going on politically with certain elections, we all know it, you know, it's the current way isn't working anymore, and people are aware of it now. The higher ups know that we're aware, and they're scared. They're afraid shitless. Like, they are shitting themselves right now, because they're like, oh God, it's falling apart. They know, you know, we are the ones that are going to change it. And I'm excited to see, you know, the evolution of our planet. And it is probably, in some ways, as the structures fall apart, it is going to get pretty bad, I'm sure, in a lot of ways, because people are going to be freaking out, but the more we can, stay firm in our truth and keep uniting in community. Like, I just can't stress that enough. And why I'm so glad so much of what you're doing is just uniting people together. There are strength in numbers. And this is not the time for us to be, keeping it to ourselves anymore. It is time to come together and raise your fists and make a difference and protest and in whatever ways you can, even if it's online and signing petitions or donating money to certain causes, even if it's only a little bit, or sharing articles on Facebook. I don't know, just anything can make a difference right now, I feel.
I think it's so true too what you're saying, just like the strength in numbers and the kind of ally, come together, like be brave, come out to us and talk to us about spirit. Like, let's join together and, and help support each other. And let's come together because I feel like that's what we're all missing. We're all missing, like, we miss it because we all come from tribal realities. We all come from villages. No matter what our ancestry, our heritage is, we all come from villages. Like, I feel like we end up missing that in those, like, safe places to be and to feel accepted and all of that. And so, sometimes, unfortunately, or maybe a lot of times, unfortunately, a lot of us haven't been or aren't raised in families that are really embracing our uniqueness or our differentness, or we're like the wild childs, or we're the different ones or whatever. And so that too is healed through coming together with like-minded souls, people that are interested in doing something positive, because what I feel is that light permeates and that light shines. And you're a bright soul, David. You're a really bright soul, and you just keep getting brighter, and that's just going to keep happening with you, I feel. And so it's not surprising to me that you probably experience, some varying expressions of cattiness around you, because it's like, how dare you be so bright? How dare you be so bright? But what ends up, you know what I'm saying? It's like, how dare you be so bright? Why don't you suffer like the rest of us? Try being a little bit miserable.
Oh, Liv, you know how it is in Florida, girl. Shout out to all the Floridians. It's not terrible everywhere here, but so my bright. God, yes. The Sunshine State, you get a lot of darkness. Oh my gosh.
Totally.
You start rising, and people. How dare you be so bright? It's
so
true.
Bright. You go get in line, or go get in a box, or go put yourself in a box somewhere. Let's box this one somehow. We've got to get him in a box.
Yes, like, just throw him in the ocean. Throw him to the sharks. That's what they want to do to you here.
Let's get him square again.
God, yes, man. Oh gosh, it's a reality, and it's so true, and it's happening everywhere. So it was funny. It was so nice. I was walking out of the grocery store the other day, and the lady's handing me my receipt, and she just, like, smiles at me really bigly, and she's like, "Be delightful. Just say that to everyone you see today. Be delightful." I was like, I really like that. You're good people. She's like, "Yeah, that's my New Year's intention. I'm just going to say it to all the haters and everybody." And I was like, good people, yeah. This is what we need more right now, just that a simple phrase can change someone's day like that. And it's you putting out that light. So, wow, Liv, we have covered a lot today. I'm like pretty just like, whoa, my mind feels like it's expanded so much, and my heart just being here in your presence with such authenticity.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really good to connect with you too.
So, I guess, unless you have anything else you want to throw in, I guess we can kind of wrap it up around this point. I think I haven't even looked at the time one time so far. That's what happens. Me and her get talking, and time just kind of falls in on itself. It doesn't exist anyway. I guess we're at about an hour.
The last thing I want to say about you and your brightness too is that while you probably or you likely have experienced, people around you that, want to kind of like claw at that a bit, what I want to say to people too is on the other side of that, there's a whole lot of other just really loving, supportive souls that it's, it is about kind of coming together with that love, and that like communities that are built on love, and that's there too, and that that light just keeps generating and keep growing. So have hope is basically the message. There's hope.
That's the message. Sponsored by Liv.
Yeah, totally. That's my
Love
little
it,
commercial.
love it. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching. This is again something we've been wanting to do for a little bit. I actually saw, I don't remember what her name was. You did a video with someone on I Talk with Spirit too. I want to say a couple of months ago, and I said, yeah, I'm gonna have to snag her. I'm snagging Liv, and I'm gonna get her to myself over here so we can talk about this too, because it's just so necessary. So yeah, thank you so much, Liv. I really appreciate it. You brought so much to this, and I think it's just needed, everything that's been said here, so that people can keep moving forward on their path and be them true selves, really.
Awesome.